Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Backstage Pass for Successful Early Childhood Leaders. We are pulling back the curtain of the what, the how, and the why they do what they do to get these transformative results in their school. I'm Chani Wolshansky, your host, and today I have Elana Fertig, who's the director at Yeshiva of South Shore in Long Island, New York. And today we're going to be talking about the ripple effect of teacher observations and one-on-one meetings. Elana, I am so excited to chat with you today. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chani.
Awesome. So Elana and I go way back. Elana joined us at our very first live event, which was in my living room in my Brooklyn-sized apartment, when it was just a small group of us, and we created this concept of the Summit of Excellence. So Elana came 2 years ago, she joined again last year, and she's coming back for her third year. So before we even dig into some strategy, tell us what keeps bringing you back year after year, and why should people come?
Obviously, because of Chani. Chani is really inspirational. I really feel like I am a preschool director now for about 19 years. I like to feel like I know a lot of things, but I know that when I come and I sit and I listen, I gain. I feel the need, even right now in our 2-minute conversation, I felt that I need to write down what you were saying. Just valuable pieces of information that help you for life.
Thank you. Thanks, Elana. Yeah, and I'm so excited to have you coming back again for your third year. So we will welcome you back again. So Elana's got a huge team. Tell us just a little bit about how many staff members and how many children you have.
So I have 7 classes. It's about 135 children. Actually, all boys. It's a boys' school. I have 7 head teachers, and my staff is about 21.
Yeah. So again, not massive, but it is a pretty large team to be in charge of and leading. And one of the things that you spoke about was after our event 2 years ago and then last year is you've really been implementing these time blocks to meet with teachers one-on-one and get into their classrooms. So before we unpack the tactic of how you make the time to get in there, which we'll talk about soon, why are you doing it? What's the effect of actually making the time to meet with someone one-on-one versus just running around the building in the morning, popping your head in and saying good morning, which everybody does do already?
Right. So I remember that we spoke about it in the class, and the concept of everybody and the busyness of everything that's going on. All preschool directors will tell you it's very hard to make that time to actually spend with the teachers and give the teachers the time. I always feel like, we get to a certain point in the year, whether it's conferences or there's a festival occasion coming up, and like, oh my goodness, do I know enough about the children that everybody has something to say? I also find this is an interesting thing. You have some teachers who want to talk to you all the time about every child, and then you have some who only come to you in like when it's an emergency. And also the amount of like how much you want them to know that you're there for them, if they need or not. So basically, I feel like everybody felt this way, and it was in the summer when Chani brought up this idea of blocking out the time, and this sentence that I kind of say to many people all the time: if you don't schedule it, it won't happen.
Yeah. So let's pause for a second and rewind what you said, because you said a lot of little golden nuggets there. And we're both New Yorkers, so we speak really fast. So I'm going to slow down because I know there are lots of people from other states that are watching, and they're like, pause, pause, pause. So let's rewind for a second. One thing that was very interesting you said was that some teachers want to come to you all the time. Look at this, I need to tell you this, I need to tell you this. And then some teachers only come when there's problems. Why is that an issue to the culture or the way that you're trying to lead an organization if some teachers are coming all the time and some teachers are only coming when there's problems? Why does there need to be consistency that you're talking to all the teachers consistently during specific times?
So I think there also needs to be something that's uniform. Like, I realize here we are in March, and like the teacher that will come to me all the time will always check with me before she speaks to a parent. And so I know exactly what's going on with the children room. And so when I meet a parent or I get a phone call, I know I have what to say. Yes. I'm not caught off guard. But then I hear other teachers who kind of, let's say, I'll call it, took it into their own hands because they maybe don't realize that I want to know before you're going to say this to the parent. So it's very important in terms of protecting the teachers. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
as a director, I actually realized I could say this. This week I said, yes, I know all about your son, but as I get older, I have a lot of details in my head, and I want to make sure that I'm not mixing up any children. So let me call you back when I have my notes in front of me. Whether or not that was realistically exactly what I meant, it was more of like, okay, I just happened to pick up the phone. I'm caught off guard. You're asking me about your son. I don't know exactly what the teacher told you already, and I want to make sure that I'm saying the right thing about the right child. So,
yes.
So the point of protecting the teacher from not stepping into an uncomfortable situation for a parent, knowing what I'm going to help you with, like certain bus issues, I'll tell the teachers, I realized at some point I needed to make a policy. I will call the child who hurt, but you should call the child who got hurt, right? So this way it alleviates the call. And then if I'm sending an email to let a parent know what happened, I'm going to CC the teacher so they know this is what was said to the parent.
Yeah.
So it's very important to be on the same page.
Yeah. And I love this piece over here because, again, I find that a big struggle of early childhood leaders is that some teachers, like it's the 20% of teachers are taking 80% of your time because they're always knocking on your door. They always want to see something. And it's like the kids, they start tugging at your dress the minute you get on the phone. And that's the beauty of having designated time for each teacher, because then she knows this is her FaceTime with Elana. You're the boss. I always say this, like everyone wants FaceTime with the boss. And the more that you realize that teachers just want to have FaceTime with you, they're not trying to nudge you, the easier it becomes to actually create that time in your calendar. So let's go back a little bit to some of those one-on-one meetings. And you don't have to obviously share details because they're typically confidential, but what has been a transformation from getting to know that person more than just, what she does well and not well in the classroom?
Well, I want to back up a second.
Sure.
I want to, after I got this message that you had said, and I said, okay, I need to schedule it. And then I thought of this concept of scheduling special time. That's what I had mentioned.
I know. Yeah. I love that name. Yeah.
And that when my second child was born, the pediatrician said, okay, now that you have 2 children, make sure you schedule a special time, no matter what it is, whatever you're doing, have a few minutes with one child at a time and tell them it's special time. And so I said, okay, I'm going to schedule special time with my moras because I need to make that time to build the relationship. For the teacher, it's not even just that one wants, like some teachers, as much as I think like we're still very friendly, I'm working with these teachers for so many years, I'm surprised sometimes. There really is a feeling when I walk in the room that they're not so comfortable. So if it's scheduled in and I'm coming in and I remind them every year, sometimes I'm just looking around like, I'm just saying hi, I wave, like me. So one was getting myself to make sure that I got into the classroom. That was part one. Part two was that the teacher knew it was scheduled. They weren't feeling like uncomfortable, and that I explained it to them. I'm going to come in, especially at the beginning of the year, in this scheduled time. So I will look at the children in your room and I will look at your classroom. Another opportunity that if really I didn't like the way a center was set up, I slowly brought that up because now we're having a comfortable conversation, right? I also noticed more things about the children so that when they come to talk to me, they might be bringing someone else up. And I might say, well, did you notice that this one triggers that one, right?
Wow.
So it was important to get myself in, to tell them I was coming, to show them that I care and I want to show that when I gave them critique about the room, it was coming from a place of how can I help you, right?
Yes.
And then I turned it around and I said, I want you to pick 10 or 15 minutes of special time once a week where you sit and stop and observe a child. And I can't tell you that that's happened so much, but it's happened a little bit. And the fact that in the conversation I say, okay, now I want you to go back and look at that. And I'll just give you this example that we were talking about a child. And you know what? Honestly, sometimes you want to say, this kid is really not nice. Sad to admit, this is what he's doing. He's constantly hurting. He's on a behavior chart. He has a notebook. Teacher's describing. And I said, well, on some levels, he's really just not nice. But sometimes I've noticed that when a child has bravado and he's still Mr. Macho and, he comes off very strong and mean, it turns out that he's anxious about something else. So I said, I could be wrong here because it doesn't look that way. But just look around. Is there some something that makes him nervous? Is there something that brings us on? And the teacher looked at me and went, okay. Like, I gave her homework to go back and look for this and pay attention to this. So,
but let me ask you this, Elana, because, and I know that a lot of people are listening to this. So, and I just had this morning on a support call with our director's inner circle, where we had a director say, so I give feedback to my teachers, but they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to my
right. So even more than that, they want you to fix it, right? That's what comes up a lot. Like, I'm coming to you with a problem so you could fix it. But what I'm going to do, I don't know all answers. I could give you some of my experience. I could say, try this. Sometimes it's this, right? But I'm going to give them what they should do and go back for. I felt
also,
today.
And here's what's interesting, because not always are they looking for you to fix the problem. Sometimes they just want your validation, like we've seen before.
Right.
Like, sometimes they just want to vent. This is a really hard child and I'm having a really hard time. And they don't want you to fix the problem.
Right. That's true also. They want to, you know, right. I want you to know, Elana, what I did for
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And or even what I said to this mother and how much time I gave her, or how I protected myself like you told me to. Right.
Yes.
And
then you just need to nod and smile and be there for them, right? Because they're not, in that case, they're not asking for advice or fixing. Right. So
I think you also need a sense of humor.
Oh, for sure. Right. In every part of your life, we need humor. Is like the best medicine. So let's pause for a minute, kind of retract before we move on to the next thing. Is in helping raise the quality in the classroom and the relationships that the teachers have with the kids, in their ability to actually help the children who are struggling be less anxious or not hurt as much or whatever it is, that effect that we're looking for starts from your relationship with the teacher, from showing her, I'm here, I'm a support, I'm available, I hear you. What does support look like from me? What advice can I give you? And then also giving them positive feedback. And so sometimes it seems very far-fetched in that way of like, how quality care in the classroom, what does that have to do with me being nice to my staff? But it has everything to do with that. So I wanted to kind of wrap up that piece there and talk about that. So as a director, the number one problem I hear all the time is there isn't enough time in my day. I don't have enough time to do everything I have to do. I use my time really well. There just isn't enough time in my day. So tell us, and I know this is a work in progress, but tell us how you have been able to set designated special time for your staff.
So it's very important to put in your calendar, like everything else. And I mean, there's all kinds of different programs in my school. Through our regular Microsoft Office, there's a calendar, and anytime we schedule anything, a staff meeting, an administrative meeting, interviews are all on the calendar. And like everybody who might want my attention gets invited. So if I'm going to schedule it for a teacher, I want to black out that time. So my secretary will put it in my calendar. She'll invite me and the teacher, but she will also CC all the secretaries in every division of the school, so nobody invites me to a meeting at that time.
So, okay, let's pause for a minute, because this is genius, okay? So, and this is a huge trick in understanding how to really protect your time. So it's not just that you know and the teacher knows that you're meeting. The secretary knows, but also, hey, there's other people in the building that want Elana's time. And so if I want to make sure that no one knocks on the door, hey, where's Elana? Let's go hunting around the building for her. No one go hunting for me because I'm not available. And so letting all the people know, because this is funny. I just did a keynote yesterday, 2 days ago, and someone was like, yeah, but when I get into the classroom, everyone starts banging on the door because they found me because I wasn't in the office. I'm like, yeah, well, that's not going to work. Like, you may as well just stay in the office. Everyone's going to come hunting for you. So I love that. Thank you. And Elana's also going to share kind of a little breakdown of how she invites everyone. So for those of you that are not familiar with that or how to use that calendar invite, we want to, so let me ask you this actually, because I don't know this about you. So this might be interesting. When I spoke at the event about all these different automations and tech things and stuff like that, did you get scared of like, oh, but I'm not good with tech or I can't do that?
So it's interesting because I feel like I feel like I fall into the middle. Like in terms of like when you say, oh, we need young people. I'm not a young people, but I do have young people in my house. I also, like, I really do have a lot of computer knowledge.
Yeah.
I do a lot of different things at school that I've learned over the years. And I actually find that some things are very simple and people are scared. And I will sit with someone, like a photo collage on Picasso is something I could do very easily. But when I didn't know how to do it, it was the scariest thing. So I have taught many staff members, come here, sit down, and I talk them through it, and I watch them, and I tell them to write down notes. So I believe that, like, there's a lot of things that we're afraid of that you can learn. I sometimes think also, like, a lot of things in life are very overwhelming because there's a lot of details. On a simple thing, my son is going on a camp program, and I had done all the details about it, but I had to book his flight, and I hadn't done it because there was details. I needed to find the passport, make sure his name, you know, all the details of it, and I was putting it off, and then I was like, okay, schedule it on Tuesday night. I will focus.
That's it.
Do this, and I did it. So, like, that's a piece of, you know, we can do. Yeah. And then also I have an incredible secretary who is amazing. And we've discussed that also, is the person who works with you in office needs to protect you, take care of you. And we have this discussion. This is a very important message. All relating to this is that the person who called, their emergency is not your emergency. They need an answer right now this minute because it's on their mind. So I have trained her. Don't put them on hold. Say, I'll call you right back. This way I could answer without feeling nervous. She doesn't have to feel nervous. Lady on hold doesn't hear what we're saying by accident, right? And I did this with the teachers too. A teacher made a phone call. I said, okay, you know, we made a plan. You'll bring up a therapist or this or that. She said, okay. I kind of implied, like, then have the parent call me. She comes in to discuss what she said with the parent, and she's filling me in. I'm like, are you still on the phone? She goes, yeah, I left her on hold so I could come back and tell her who you recommend. I said, no. Go back. Say that I'm busy right now. Elana will call you back. This way, A, I can think about who I want to recommend, and B, I could add to the conversation you're having now, right? Yes. So we'll have better results. And then she's got another opinion that, you know, validates what's going on.
Yeah. So this is really interesting because I want to break this down for a minute, even though we kind of veered off the conversation a little bit, but it's really powerful in that you've really adopted the mindset of the emergencies that come my way, the fires that are being thrown at me are not my fires. They're other people's fires that are being put onto my plate. And I get to decide when I respond to those fires. Now, granted, you use your sixth sense and you decide what needs to be, you know, dealt with right now. But more often than not, it can wait. Like telling the person, I will call you back. You don't have to wait on hold. Someone sitting on hold is anxiety provoking. The person is waiting, right? And so I love this, like this mindset shift of other people's fires are not my own. I mean, just not buying into the myth of like, but the parent called, we have to call her back right away. Or, you know, but they call, okay, all right. So they called, we'll call them back. How did you shift your mindset in that way? I don't know if you can answer that question.
I just want to add that also because I have to explain it to, I don't know if we want to call it millennials, but young parents, that in this moment, this is the most important thing. And I must talk to the teacher right now. And even though we try not to give out our cell phones, everybody somehow gets it. And teachers will tell me they're on the phone for hours. The mother had to talk. And first of all, I tell them, you tell your husband to call you, scream, murder, you know, fire, something. I gotta get off the phone or whatever. I actually said to a parent, you know, the Mora, call me anytime, call the Mora during the day. And I know when you call her.
Mora is teacher, for those of you that are watching.
Right. I know that when you call the teacher at home, she's going to give you all the time in the world. But if I were her husband, I wouldn't be so happy. I actually said that to a parent. She goes, you're right. But like the parents are calling, this is so important. You know, I can't even think of what exactly it is, but something that we're collecting money for something. Oh, is it going to be this amount or that amount? And why do you need to bother the teacher about this right now? I don't know why people are afraid of emails. I actually think emails are amazing because you answer them when you want and you're not, no one's in your face. You know, I don't have to have a real conversation with you. I don't see why this piece that we're trained, I have a list of things to do. I write it down, right? A lot of people don't. So they're going to call you right now because this is what's on my mind. I must talk to the teacher about the meeting that happened at the district, about the services I'm going to get in 6 months in September. I need to talk to you about it right now. So I'll protect myself. I'll see a text at night and I won't respond. And in the morning, I will say, call me anytime after 9. Or I will email and say, I saw your message, whatever, call me. And I'll schedule it in. Because again, this is your emergency. It's not mine.
Okay, so, and this is such a great way to bring everything full circle, Elana, because I love this. So it's personal boundaries. And this is something that we're really going to dig into this year at the live event. In the first part of day 1 of the event, we're really going to unpack what are your personal boundaries? What are your personal values that when this gets, because here's the thing that's so important to understand. When your boundaries get consistently violated, if you're messaged every single evening and you have young kids and a spouse at home, your value of family is violated every single night. And guess what? It's gonna catch up to you. And you're gonna start spewing hate and anger and frustration and anxiety on the people who didn't cause this boundary violation. You're gonna start spewing it on the kids, on the teachers, on people that, that was your issue. You let someone violate that boundary. And so I love that you've gone so clear on, no, when someone sends me a text message, I'm not gonna respond at 9:30 at night. I'm gonna schedule in. And the other thing that I loved what you said, and I wanna highlight it is, because this is for directors to get clarity on why parents have everything as an emergency. Not everyone has the discipline of writing things down. And so now that they remembered it, well, let me call her now so I don't forget. Okay, but if you spoke during 3 hours, you would still be alive, like everything would still be fine. And so as a director, pause, deep breath. I'm gonna call her between this time and this time. Elana, I love that. I just wanna give you a big hug because I think-
I wanna add one thing that I discovered. Yes. This is my way of validating why I need to protect myself.
Yes.
I came to the conclusion that I am a much nicer person during the day than I am at night.
Yay!
So I'm going to have a conversation with parents. I have different responses later in the evening.
Amazing. Amazing. You know that there is a whole study that was done for people that were applying for citizenships in the Israeli embassy in Israel. And the people that came before lunch, like the hour or hour and a half before lunch, were all denied visas. And everyone who came after lunch was all granted access. I can't remember where I read this, but oh my gosh, it's true. And why? Well, because they were hungry. So they were barking at everyone and everyone just get away from me, right? So I love this. Again, personal boundaries. So, and this takes so much self-awareness of like, I'm a nicer person in the morning. So I'm actually protecting the family, because why do we respond right away? Because we want to be nice. You want to be nice? Great. Respond when you're a nice person. Because nighttime, you're not being nice. You're being mean because you're not a nice person.
Right.
At night. So I love that. I love that, Elana. So let's just wrap everything up here. We're going to share in the show notes some tutorials and just how Elana kind of schedules things out and invites people in. Elana, for you, you're coming back for your 3rd year. And I know you're super excited about just getting the inspiration and all the information you're going to be learning. For someone who's thinking about joining for the 1st year, what would you tell them to expect and why should they come?
I feel like there's a lot of, I'm going to call it soul searching, but I'm not sure. Like paying attention to yourself, which is something that we do tend to neglect. Thinking about things, actually having that time to think about your vision, your mission. What am I doing? Why am I doing? What's hard? How can I make this easier? Learning from other people in the room who are experiencing the same thing. That always fascinates me. Big school, small school, all different kinds of schools. We all are dealing with the same kind of problems. And even just this therapy piece, even when we're sitting down at lunch and we could just all relate to each other is such a valuable piece.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Elana. Thank you so much. We'll end on this high note. Thank you so much for your time and chatting. And I am so looking forward to seeing you and giving you a giant hug.
Thanks, honey. Bye-bye.
All the best.